What's up, guys? Clout Goblins, episode 2. Me and Crash, we're rocking it out. Crash, how have you been?
I'm good. Give me your clout.
If I had any to give, I would. But then it'd just be an endless cycle of cannibalizing each other, wouldn't it?
Yeah. No, we need to cannibalize somebody else.
I concur. Yeah, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants tonight because, well, we've been going over some pretty serious stuff. Hey, there's good night.
Yo.
But before we get started, everyone, it's back and better than ever. Make Marvel Mail again. Only on flagranttriggers.com. Speaking out against the feminization of our beloved industries that are just slowly decaying into oblivion, which maybe it needs to happen because Eric July is kicking some ass. Hey, what's up, front porch? Yeah, swing by, grab that. X-Ray Girl has another fabulous shirt that's out now. That is pretty hilarious as well. Some good old MCU Studios.
Nice.
Yeah, that one is that was pretty nice. And I like how they added the Gamora silhouette.
Yes.
Or not Gamora, but Nebula.
Nebula, yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty good. We still got the homage to Mayor Pete because he's a douche clown who is still doing nothing, and the people in Ohio are still fucked, and nothing is still being done. But nothing new with that. Yeah. So since we've got a couple of people in chat, look, we're just kind of like,
what's on your mind?
Yeah, what's on your mind? I'm even asking random chicks on one of the dating apps a topic. Speaking of dating is fucking atrocious now. It is ridiculous how hard it is to actually find someone who's worth dating. And I blame a lot of it on the fact that everyone's on apps now, and the selection there is greater, but the chances of landing someone are a lot harder because unless you're in the top 1%, you can't get 60% of the women. But my area, super small town, most people are already in relationships. The decent looking people are in relationships, and the decent people are usually in relationships. So that leaves me like trailer trash and gutter bombs. And that's just it's not what I'm trying to go for.
All right, we got a new question.
Trump's impending arrest. I'll let you go first, Crash.
So they've been saying they've been going to arrest Trump for years. I don't believe that this is going to be any different. It doesn't happen. I don't think it's going to actually happen. That's my thought. It's just a distraction from the fact that the banking system is collapsing right before us and they're bailing them out. But there's not a lot of media on it, on what's happening with the banking sector. So expect a lot more inflation to come.
So did you see, I'm sure you saw Elon's tweet.
Yeah.
Hold on one sec.
And I mean, I think he's right. I think if they did follow through with this, I think it's a bad move. Like just for politically, it's just not going to go over well.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. Well, Elon says, if this happens, Trump will be reelected in a landslide victory. Yeah, I don't know. I think Elon is giving not enough credit to the establishment.
I mean, yeah, we always got to remember that those states that are the problem states when it comes to ballots, nothing's been done yet.
Yeah.
You know,
And
we're only 1 year left before the next cycle on that election. So, and again, those places are Republican majority. Remember that, all you GOP voters, your GOP does not like you.
I'm with you on that. Good night. I think that's so. Even within the quote unquote conservative party, there are people who are against the uh, MAGA movement. And the MAGA movement is composed generally of left and right populists who want America centric, the American citizen centric government to happen, not the let's give billions of dollars to other countries who we're just laundering money through for the corrupt and the elite. Um, but like my black pill's always been, they're trying to take all the populists and the people who want to do America first and actually fix our country and our communities before we go over and fucking police other places in the world. And they're trying to get us split. They're trying to get us away because the the machine has their cult, and the cult. When I say cult, I mean the people, like the people on the View, who go out and say the people of East Palestine deserve what they got because they voted for Trump. Like the garbage human beings of the world, because you can show them that you can hold up a video where they think they're standing in rain and it's really just some politician pissing in their face, and you can show them the golden stream and everything, and they'll still say, well, there's a reason for it. And it's, they're retarded, and there's no change in those minds. And I think they want to split because it's easier to get the populists and the MAGA movement people away, get them sectioned off, and then go to war against them. Because then, if the split happens, a lot of the independent voters, a lot of the right people on the right, and the people on the left who want to go back to making America a good country again, they can probably take care of themselves. There's a much higher percentage of people in that group that can self-sustain than there are in the cult hive mind group, because they are 100. The cult hive mind is 1000% dependent on getting shit handed to them. And the first thing that's going to happen is cities are going to burn. They are going to go absolute bonkers chaos overnight. And what happens after
Yeah, have you
that?
heard? Oh, have you seen videos from Paris?
No, no.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
You want to pull those up, and
Yeah, I'll find them.
I'll keep running my mouth. Yeah. So once the cities get hit, then it's going to be so easy for them to say, well, the reason this is happening is because these people, they won't share their resources with us, and they won't provide us food, or insert X excuse to go against the the separate faction that's against the establishment. Yeah.
Let me see. Percent.
And good night. As far as this, we can't recover the greatness until we disassemble those institutions and create either new ones or go back to community driven politics.
All right. So yeah, it's been estimated, and this is all over raising the retirement age 2 years.
Oh yeah. I heard it. I have heard about this. Yeah, they're going absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, I heard it was like 1.2 million people involved in the protests, and they've gone rather violent by this point. See, I don't remember what this was as of a couple of days ago. I don't know how it is right now, but yeah.
I mean, look at all the rhetoric from the mainstream media. A good stress reducer is working another job. Like, the hell's wrong with these people? Like, there are people who go out there and bust their ass and live paycheck to paycheck, and they might like to enjoy a little bit of time to themselves and their families toward the end of their life. But instead, no, we need you to work a little bit longer. We know you can barely walk. And oh crap, did you cut that?
I did that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, if I was an alphabet, I would cause as much civil unrest as possible, so that way I could have an easier time passing tyrannical and constitutional laws. I think, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if they get the two factions separated, like, because then the government will have 100% support from the cult hive mind, so they'll be able to do whatever the hell they want. Because at that point, it's going to be directed toward the enemy, just like the Patriot Act with 9/11. That it was completely unconstitutional, tyrannical piece of garbage, but they got it passed because, oh, there's a bad guy, we got to go after him. So yeah,
Get involved with your local governments. They rely on state and local forces to enforce those things. Unenforceable laws don't mean anything. They're nothing. They're just letters to Santa. So get involved with local politics, your city councils, your sheriff's departments especially. And anybody watching this that feels so inclined might maybe consider, you're like, if your sheriff, you don't think your sheriff will stand up to the federal government when they say you got to arrest these citizens for bullshit reasons, then consider running, or find someone or get behind someone who will run and will actually stand up for what's right. Because that's what we're missing. We saw a very minor bit during COVID. There were a few that stood out, and I'm glad that happened, because I think that gave some people some inspiration, some hope. I love it. That sounds like a t-shirt.
Yeah,
we gotta think of a design for that. That sounds like, you gotta remember, write that one down.
That'll be a holiday shirt for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I got pissed off at the school board. They are they're captured by the COVID bucks. They just let the state, the teachers union, and the CDC just dictate whatever they wanted as far as masks and COVID policy and stuff like that. And the thing that really pissed me off is the superintendent played stupid on, well, we can't do anything. That's what, the CDC says, and we have to follow it. Like, no, you fucking don't. Every county, every school board in every county in North Carolina, they have the right to set their own policy when it comes to the health and welfare of the students. They pretty much every county can be completely autonomous, but they got the COVID bucks. Then they tied salaries to it, and then this came directly from one of the members of the board. Said, "Well, we got salaries tied to that money now." I'm like, "Well, that's your fucking problem, dude. You shouldn't have done that. Like, you're supposed to be able to lead and
pocketing.
Yeah,
money that was intended for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that violates fiscal law.
Oh, I requested their finances and everything for 2020, and all the contracts that they made with the groups that they made, and any correspondence that they had regarding the masking policy, and they never gave it to me. So, I mean, legally, I could file a lawsuit against them for that, because they only have a certain. It doesn't say specifically how long they have, but it's supposed to be as quickly as possible.
Yeah, taking legal action is another thing that can be done and ought to be done if you have the resources or the time and energy to do it. Resources meaning you can afford to hire a lawyer to do it, or if you have the time and energy to deal with the bureaucracy yourself. But we definitely need more of that. Just and then also, like, just getting things out in the open, public information, the Freedom of Information Act. Get those, find out if there's something that you're suspicious about, file a request to get information on that, and then publicize it. And then, we just got to find the right signal boosts. Keep waking people up.
That's a big thing too. These school boards and city councils and stuff like that, they would rather deal with you behind closed doors than have to deal with a story out in the public that makes them look bad.
Yep.
Don't go for the resolve it behind closed doors bullshit.
Yeah.
Find the
Remember, they are
truth, put it in the paper, expose these assholes.
many of these politicians. The more powerful they are, the more likely they are really a narcissist. I'm not talking just like a euphemism. Oh, they're just self-centered. I mean, like actually a narcissist. And there's one emotion that a narcissist can feel, and that's shame. If you shame them publicly, they will lose their minds. This is what has happened. That's what happened to Eliza Blue. What's the last thing we've? Is Eliza actually? Let's find out. Is Eliza Blue even tweeting anymore?
I know she's not doing the Minds event anymore.
Yeah, she just kind of disappeared.
She pulled out of that real quick. Especially, well, I think it was right around the time that there were rumors that Brittany was going to be part of the event. And yeah, Front Porch, if you can find the tweet, you can send it to me or Crash. We'll pull it up.
Okay, so she is still tweeting, but it's just largely getting ignored, I think, because she's pretending like nothing happened.
Yeah. Yeah, she's wrecked. She completely wrecked herself. She fafoed a little bit.
Yeah. Because I tell you what I don't see is her like tweeting, "Hey, I'm going to be on this at this event or interviewed on this podcast." People aren't asking her back because it's like, why would we bother?
Yeah, she wore out her welcome very quickly with quite a few people. Quite a few people.
But I mean, like the reason why she lost her mind, like it's funny because like when it came to like Jack Murphy and her. Everybody was like, all you had to do was just own it. Just own it. Okay? You made a mistake. Like with Brittany Venti, you didn't have to ban her. All you had to do was just own that part of it or own your past. It's like, okay, I did some promiscuous things in my past or things maybe she's proud of it or not proud of it, but be honest about it. They can't do that. Their egos won't allow it. The shame is what got to her. And that's what caused it to spiral out of control. That's the real telltale sign of a narcissist is when their ego literally cannot allow them to admit fault. It just or take an L. They just can't take an L. It has to be forced down their throat.
Well, the problem is they don't feel shame for the right reason. She doesn't feel shame that she did the wrong thing. She feels shame because she got caught.
Well, yeah, because her shame it's a bruised ego, right? That's the feeling that she's actually getting. Like, and if you've ever been humbled before, you know what that feels like. But they feel it to an extreme degree. Mm-hmm. You often will hear that narcissism is rooted in insecurity. That's true. They're so insecure in their own identity that like any sort of defacement of their image is too much for them to handle. But I mean, you're right. So it's not for the right reasons. But it is the one way that you can. It is the only thing that you can use against a narcissist to emotionally manipulate them is to publicly shame them. So like when a politician does something heinous, put it out in the public. That's the best thing you can do. Because then they will eat themselves alive. They won't know what to do. They'll panic. They'll
lie for sure.
Yeah, they'll lie.
They'll lie their asses off.
They'll lie. They'll try to go behind your back to try to cancel you. Like Jack Murphy tried to do that with Sydney. Was trying to get the Blaze to just fire her. Like, and that was behind her back. While in public, he was saying, at least at first, that he had apologized. But then also, like when he went on Timcast, he was like, but didn't really apologize. Nah. It's like, I apologize, but it was all her fault anyway.
Yeah,
So yeah, their apologies aren't even real.
It's a non-apology apology.
Yeah, exactly.
It's basically, sorry, well, I got
Or
caught.
it's gas.
That sucks.
It's like it's a reverse victimization actually. So it's like you're apologizing, but you're still the victim.
Yeah.
God, what's the acronym DARVO? What does that stand for again? Because that's like the 5 things that like the narcissist does or whatever to
Let's
turn
see.
things back on you.
Let's see. How narcissists.
Hey, well,
Here we go. Share this. What is DARVO? DARVO is an acronym for deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. It's a defense mechanism used by manipulators to evade accountability for the abuse they inflict on others. It is a blame shifting tactic used for gaslighting in the context of emotional abuse. So, yeah. Yep. The first thing Eliza did, deny, deny,
yep,
deny.
yep,
And then she attacked, and
yep,
then she reversed the roles of the victim and the offender.
yep.
And she's a disgusting human pile of garbage, in my opinion. And Jack, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, I don't know. I kind of like Jack before all that stuff went down, but then again, I didn't because there were some things it's just like, because when he was talking about his kids, he's like, well, I I gotta if I gotta let them get the clot shot to keep doing their sports and stuff, it's like, what? That that's not what you preach at all. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, that was an obvious cope. It was like he, uh, or yeah, he's just trying to justify a decision that he knew he wasn't in his favor, or wasn't something that he's preaching. He knows, he knew. I mean, but yeah, I used to like Jack a lot. I mean, I've said this before on other podcasts. I don't remember where I've said it before. I think it was on one of Chrissy Mayer's member streams.
Hmm.
I was in the liminal order for like a couple months.
Oh yeah.
When it was early on, when it was a thing, but I was in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I was in Kansas, and there wasn't anybody else local to me in that group, in that community. So I was just like, I'm not doing this online community thing. I was hoping that it would work more like Meetup, and I could find a local group of guys and do the things that he was preaching. Just like focus on physical fitness, building skills.
I mean that's not bad advice, and I think a lot
Yeah.
of people do need to do that. Especially these days, because I was talking to one of my old buddies, and we hadn't caught up in years, and he used to be far left, and when we ran into each other, I think it was last week. It was last Wednesday, um, because our daughters go to the same place for gymnastics, but we didn't have any idea until I happened to take mine for a makeup day, and they were, ironically enough, our daughters hit it off and became fast friends. And but he was like, "Yeah, man, you changed your politics changed a long time ago, and I guess you saw something that nobody else did because I didn't really get where you were coming from until I became a dad." I was like, "Yeah, man, yeah, shit is going off the rails, and finally people are waking up because, I mean, he was super far left, just about name the generic lefty trope, and he was in it." Um, but yeah, like people are unfulfilled and they don't know how to find fulfillment anymore. Like 100 years ago, people were busting their ass just to make sure they ate, and now everything's just handed to you, and people don't try to challenge themselves anymore because why would they? Everything's easy. So they go and make stupid arguments about how many genders there are and which bathrooms they can use and if children should have dongs flopping in their faces or not. And
Yeah, it's crazy how like the direction that all of that has gone on just the trans leftist agenda. I'm trying to differentiate between like leftist trans and then like trans that just want to be left alone. Like
yeah,
Blair and Buck Angel and I mean others. I've known people in my personal life that were trans and they're just like just normal people who have gender dysphoria and they chose to try and present as the opposite sex. Now we got all of this crazy BS that's I mean the fact that it's just going after kids like in certain like dark ways that's I don't get that. Like I have to wonder how much of the pedophilic component of that is social contagion versus like, or is it just that this movement is just attracting that group of people now?
I would say that it's just an easy shield for
Okay.
the for people who are into kids because I mean look at the push to normalize it.
Yeah.
It's fucking ridiculous.
And it's
And
just it's hard for me to imagine that there's that many fans of the playground um out there, but maybe so. I don't know.
I don't I don't think there I don't think there's a huge number. It's just when stories like that come up, people take it seriously because everyone's 99% of the population is in agreement. Yeah, don't fuck with kids.
Yeah. I mean,
And
that's the whole reason why we have now, like LGB without the T and gays against groomers and these trends that
mm,
are building because they're like, no, we like leave the kids, and it's all about the kids. It had nothing to do with like hating trans people or struggling with gender dysphoria or anything like that. It had everything to do with the fact that there was a significant component of this community going after kids.
so I actually thought of a very dark sketch where it's like a dad loses custody of his kids because one of them walked in to his bedroom when he was changing and they saw his junk. So,
Oh
and
God.
he's in court and they're like, "How dare you? That is very irresponsible, and you expose them to this perversity." And he's like, "I was changing clothes," and he loses custody. And then the next shot is the mom at a drag show, and the dude's flopping a dong right in their kid's face and giving
Right.
them dollars and stuff, and they're like, "Yay!"
Like, how does this just escape people? The mothers. That's one. Well, I haven't
Women
paid
are ruining
attention.
everything, dude.
I haven't paid attention to how if I feel like when I do see a lot of those videos, it's generally mothers. I don't remember seeing a lot of fathers involved with that.
No. Dude, if I saw my
Yeah.
kid at something like that, it would be fucking raging bull time. I
Well,
like
I'm wondering what these. I'm thinking about like the male feminist or any of the male feminist, male soy boy types involved with this at all,
yeah.
and what are their thoughts?
Most of them I
Um,
think are creeps though too. I have a
yeah. Oh yeah, like
definitely
the
the soy boy.
cuttlefish type of
Yeah.
people. Yeah,
Yeah, the
they're just doing
Vito's
it
and
to. Yeah.
the Chris was it Chris Chan? Who was the one who was doing the thing with his grandmother or mother?
Yeah, I think that's the right name, but I don't remember for sure. But I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that was disgusting.
Yeah, see, people the soy boys who will put up with anything just for some desperate attempt to say that they're to get some poon off of these ultra feminists. To me, those are the most weak-minded, weak-willed pussies on the planet. Like they they don't have any moorings. I don't believe in uh any kind of moral or upstanding beliefs. I think they would. fucking bend whatever direction the wind blows if they thought they could get something out of it. So yeah, I absolutely see male feminists just standing there on the sidelines clapping. I mean, look at the what is it, John Brown Gun Club that have been providing security for these events. Like,
yeah, them, Antifa, and others like them are just the worst.
oh, speaking of people who have weird takes on this kind of stuff, what's going on with your girl, Miss Dr. Karlin Boroshenko?
Oh my god.
She is bringing the heat to the Libertarian Party with some hot takes.
Oh, holy shit! I can't.
Like, I cannot
How has she
believe.
not been like exiled from the party yet? I don't know.
How has she
I've
not
actually
been exiled from polite society?
that too. God, where was that one where?
Chat, if you don't know what I'm talking about, she recently put out a response thread or tweet or something to the effect of kids need to go through sexual abuse in order to understand what it's like, or something. Basically, just
I'm
saying,
trying to
kid.
find it. I don't. I guess I didn't have it bookmarked. I know. I think Frank had it. I'm just
Yeah,
trying to find it.
yes, Frank's definitely got it, and Frank ripped her apart.
Yeah, and then she
This
did. She tried to do a Darvo type like stream on Frank and turn it around on him, but it's like I still I find it hard to believe that she has fans. I know she doesn't have a lot of them. Certainly not as many as when she started. But
well, I can almost guarantee you what persuasion her fans are. Let's see, let me look up Frankie Boys.
Lord, he tweets too much for me to just find it. Scrolling down the timeline, that was days ago.
Yeah, where is it at? Because he had it as a quote tweet.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Oh wait, what's this? No,
That's
that
the
was later.
Twitter stuff. Where is it?
Well, here's a recent one, which still just kind of I'm like, I look at her response and I'm like, what?
Yeah, you do that. I am looking.
Adults doing with their bodies what they want. I have no problem with that. Leave the kids out of it. Excellent. I'm really glad we've confirmed that you're an authoritarian that doesn't believe in liberty. Like, she really just like she doesn't understand what liberty is.
No. I'm getting there.
Is someone hijacked your account? I wish I'd seen that thread. I would have put in there. Nope, that's her. That's all her. All right, hold on. Let me. Not that.
Oh, I gotta find this. It's gonna drive me crazy. Because yeah, when you guys see this, if it doesn't piss you off, then something is wrong with you. Here we go.
I know exactly
I
which tweet you're
found it.
talking about. Okay.
I found it. Let's do a little share here. This lady said, "I want to understand your point. Isn't something like child grape bad though?" Her reply was, "What if you need to experience that as a child in order to have the required life experience to go on and help future child abuse victims or sexual abuse victims?" What the fuck, man?
Hold on, there's more.
Yeah.
Because look at the response. I remember she replied to that too. It's easy to say if you're not the child whose life is destroyed, and then she said something else.
Let's see. Is this? No. I'm pretty sure that was talking about how she defended her kitty diddlers. But yeah, it's bad, dude.
Yeah.
It was bad. Like, well, did we get into my stuff a little bit? I think we did
Uh,
when we were talking about Eliza.
yeah, we did some.
Yeah. See, I had some really terrible shit happen to me as a kid, and shit like that makes me want to punch faces because that's disgusting. And I guarantee, like, I don't know her history, but I'm willing to bet she's never had anything that horrible happen to her before. If she can just freely talk about it as if it's no big deal. Yes, yes, you are absolutely correct. Good night. The wood chipper go burr. Um, but yeah, I mean, well, it goes back to what do you do when institutions are captured and they incentivize people of that persuasion or domestic terrorists who actually harm people and like the Georgia stuff, the Antifa in Georgia who are firebombing the police and criminals who are arrested and released the same day for robbery or armed robbery or attempted murder. I mean, that's one, that's why I'm black pilled. I really think bad stuff is coming, and that's why I am going to purchase some firearms very soon and start teaching my kids how to shoot.
Don't think you understand black pilled. Black pilled is supposed to be a place of despair where you've given up. It's not that you foresee things. It's not that being white pilled doesn't mean that you're not pessimistic about what's coming. It's that you believe that good will win out. You believe that it's still worth fighting and prepping for the worst.
Well, overall, I don't think good will. I think the bad people are going to win because the institution is promoting the bad people right now. And the institutions have a lot of heavy fucking artillery to turn against their citizens. Now, we stand a better chance than most other countries because we're still armed to the teeth for the most part. But I don't know, man.
The
To
Taliban took
me,
over Afghanistan within a matter of like a couple weeks.
yeah, after we left and didn't
No,
have any personnel to.
They were pushing us out already. Like it. Yeah, it was. I don't think it. People overestimate how much you need to take on the government.
Yeah,
because yeah, if they had already won, they wouldn't need to take away our weapons. 1 second, sorry.
no problem. Well, the thing, like, I don't know, man, because I think if there were some kind of national divorce and the populace and the establishment types went their separate ways, I think there would be some reprieve for a little bit. I think it would be good for a little bit, mostly for the populace, because they're going to build true capitalist systems and they're going to be more apt to call out corruption and stuff like that. But it's only going to be a matter of time before the establishment side, in the scenario of a national divorce, begins eating itself so bad that they have to shift blame somewhere else before they completely lose power to very, very angry mobs.
Okay, and then what? Why
Well,
does that
then,
worry you so much?
well, because then it'll turn into warfare. It will be like a hot civil war again. Because I just see the
I can
populace.
go either way on it. I think a lot depend. There's a lot of variables as to whether or not there would be kinetic civil war. it's not as favorable. Like people, we can't overestimate the benefits of going to war and underestimate the risks. Like it's not healthy. So I mean, that's kind of like the whole like premise of anarchism is that if everybody has the ability, if everybody's on an equal playing field, and I get that, yeah, we're not really on an equal playing field, except that we're also like their military is also the citizens. So I don't think that you're gonna in that scenario you're gonna necessarily get full on invasion. I think you're gonna get a lot of defection. And it's not going to go nearly as well as they think that it will, or that if they took that step, they obviously thought it would go well enough, and I think it's going to end up that kind of scenario would turn out worse than they anticipated.
Yeah.
Now, would I prefer that they avoided that? Yeah, of course, it'd be much more preferable to just be at peace than anything, and all you need is at a minimum the perception on both sides that going to war doesn't favor either side. It's just you end up with a lot of destruction and no gains, which is usually the outcome of violence. Like, well,
I mean, at that point, I think it depends on whether the establishment can maintain control of chaos or not.
You see, the thing about chaos, though, is that it works against us and for us at the same time. It's kind of hard to maintain power without order. Like amongst chaos like causes as much disruption on both sides. So it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it depends on the desperation of the establishment, and
yeah, because well, let me put it this way then. Like, because if they're in a state of desperation, then that means that they're not in as good a shape as they thought.
Well, maybe
that's a good thing.
Not desperation as far as oh shit, everything's crashing down on us, but desperation is in we want that power back. That's what I mean when for that type of desperation.
I mean, that's a different scenario, and that's something also worth discussing. So let's imagine a secession. Let's just say the lines down the center from vertical. You know, they get the West Coast, we got the East, or something. I don't know. Or I mean, I guess what would be more realistic is that the West Coast and the North and New England, and then like Illinois, and then the rest would be anything non-leftist.
I think giving them the West Coast would be, if that happened, giving them the West Coast would be absolutely detrimental, because then I think it would be extremely easy for China to move in.
China doesn't want to move in. China's going to stick with their economic warfare. They're not worried about. They're not going to do a land invasion. That doesn't serve their interests. The only land invasion they're interested in is Taiwan.
Yeah, I agree, Willie. For me, I don't know. Another big thing for me too that makes me think it's dark days ahead is just the amount of blatant in our face corruption that is happening in real time, and nothing's being done about it.
Well, let's talk about that. The fact that nothing gets done, because let's remember, it's the fox watching the hen house. Actually, yeah. it's the fox governing himself. He's saying that I have done nothing wrong, and you hens have nothing to worry about. What do you do with that?
Well,
I mean,
it's because of the capture
yeah.
of the media, though. Everything is captured, like it's just regulatory capture on every every side of any institution right now.
Well, yeah, we have. I mean, one thing that could blackpill me. You know what? Let's bring in
Yeah,
somebody who's smarter about this stuff than.
let's we'll bring in the resident black pill himself. Uh, does he have audio?
No, I don't hear you.
Nah. Technical difficulties.
Fun times.
Almost.
There we go.
There we go. Wait, we lost you again.
Nope, lost it again.
Give it a second.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. Yeah.
It's yeah. If you you guys got me now, 5x5 here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. If you saw my system here, I forgot I have redundancies and failovers, and then multiple audio switches. So I'm sitting here thinking, like, wait, hold on 1 second. This should work. So I go to pull one, so that way it'll automatically fail over until I realize I have a secondary failover for that failover. So I was like, yeah. So I basically insulated myself and forgot that I did so. Wonderful. But yeah, this is most definitely one of those things where everything's a damn shit show right now. I think if I were to try to surmise everything that's going on, I think when you look at multiple world governments right now, right, each one has their failures and each one's making moves. And I think it's really interesting to sort of compare this to chess, in the sense that if you move your piece, there's a risk associated with making those moves. And I think we can sort of tie a lot of this back going into actually Trump's administration. I can't remember what year. It might have been the first or second year. So maybe 2016, 2017, when we saw Russia bringing in or basically staging their tanks on the border of Ukraine, and so and it was quite interesting to actually have that type of thought. Most recently, because I'm sitting here right now saying, well, with everything going on, what's our outcomes? And I think that Crash, you made an interesting point of China potentially not really wanting to go into Taiwan. And coming from my point of view, from going to the past and moving forward, and looking at them both, I feel that, and this is hard because I'm sort of omitting a couple of things here. I almost feel that a lot of this has been very thoroughly planned out, very thoroughly staged. And I believe that there is some type of execution going on between multiple governments, of where I don't know if they're in sync or if they are in tandem with each other just coincidentally. Just because of the things that line up. For example, Russia and China have been working on establishing oil refineries along the northern Antarctic, I'd say. So basically, if you were to take, let's say, Asia and the whole span of Russia and their top border, the ice has been basically breaking up, so their icebreakers can go through those waters, creating a brand new shipping lane. Which, if you look at how many icebreakers Russia has compared to the United States, they're obviously taking the lead on that right now. So now you have Russia and China working on these refineries up in the Arctic, right? Then you magically have BRICS starting to form together. You got Brazil, Russia, India. I think, well, I would say like Iran, and a couple of other countries as well. Obviously, it's just a placeholder acronym. And then comes the pandemic. Now, the pandemic, or plandemic, as I call it. um,
You're muted, Flagrant.
Oh,
Not you. Good night.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, all right. So
I said the pandemic, as most of us refer to it as.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's again, and that's where my real references are coming from. Is it's a little too hard to of a pill to swallow to say that we this magical virus just magically came from an animal and then somehow quickly migrated over to all these other countries, and then draconian law starts to pop up, which, oh wait a minute, hold on, don't we have contingencies for that with all of these organizations in the event of, and I know Crash, you know this, you know this intimately, that we had to train every single month for sea burning, any type of biological attacks against the United States, how to shut things down, how to contaminate or decontaminate buildings, how to isolate and stop the spread of a massive contagion, which we've already had these issues with. I think there was an issue in Texas with monkeypox. Someone had monkeypox that came in, and a whole bunch of other things there. Anywho, you're telling
we had
me
Ebola during Obama's administration.
Oh yeah. I was active duty during that time, and we had Ebola, and we also had I think it was the mad cow, the hoof mouth, whatever the hell it was.
Right.
And we actually had
mouth.
Yeah, we had I had 1, 2, 3 people die during when I was going through tech school. So I find it really funny that was going around the country, and yet we didn't shut down the country. I guess that wasn't too important,
right?
You know,
we had swine flu. We had
yep,
and I mean we had SARS-CoV-1.
Yes,
at one point.
and interesting that you bring that up. Yes, and which one's this one labeled? SARS-2?
CoV-2. So when SARS-CoV-3 is coming around the corner, I guess.
Bingo, exactly.
Or a different version of the flu, like what was the last? There was one that was mentioned like last year, but it died off really quickly because people are catching on to this. You're just like, no, we're not doing this again. Exactly. That's my white pill, is that I do think enough citizens are awake to where it's just going to keep spreading, and eventually we'll have a point where, like, if they try this again, I think we'll get enough mass non-compliance that it'll just be unenforceable.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Did you guys see RFK on Jimmy Dore the other day?
RFK
Jr. He was talking about how all of these bad viruses that have come out that have supposedly jumped from mammal to mammal were all engineered. Ebola.
Oh, you mean that gain of research?
Yeah. Like he said, everything has been engineered, and like you were saying, they do this stuff. He said, now there is some benefit to it because you do want to be prepared in case other countries do biological warfare.
Absolutely. Yep.
The problem is nearly every really bad virus disease that's come out has been from gain of function research and development for warfare.
Now, here's
Uh,
the funny thing, and this is going back into, and I didn't mean to cut you off there, but you triggered a beautiful memory for me. Anybody remember when Microsoft decided to get rid of their quality assurance department? And basically, they're like, "Hey, why don't we just have the customer basically be the beta testers, and if things drop or whatever, it's oh well." You know what I mean?
I'm not sure when that happened. I knew that it happened at some point because my stuff went to shit and
Right,
Microsoft support was terrible. And yeah,
Yep.
like they deploy a patch and then our whole system would just go down. It was stupid as hell.
Right. So
But I don't remember when
yeah.
it was announced. I just remember at some point it became a problem for me.
Yeah. So now I'm thinking, if you're in the know with how these organizations work, they really like to follow the flow of electrical engineering. They like to compartmentalize and plan things around the ideology of electrical engineering. So if I wanted, exactly, yeah. so if I really wanted to test, I don't know how well a biological weapon would work, why would I even bother to run tests on a small scale when I can just easily put it on a massive scale at a very low dose or low, I want to say frequency or period there, um, to where you actually get global stats without, taking out everybody, which is one hell of a gamble. But I just find it really interesting that when Russia went into Ukraine, the first 11 to 12 targets, I believe they took out were our bioweapon facilities and labs and research labs that were in
no,
Ukraine. But
I thought that was Russian disinformation
oh,
about these labs.
oh no, I'm spreading it.
And
That's
I
right.
know.
That's right. YouTube. It's all Russian
Flop
disinformation.
myself.
There are no bio labs.
Shame.
It was all. They were just bio research labs. There's no bioweapons labs in Ukraine. Don't be silly.
I mean, why in the world would the United States ever work with Five Eyes to be able to spy on their citizens, because it would legally breach doing so if they were in the States? But hey, like I said, that's another game theory,
Yeah.
We wouldn't
It's
do
almost
that.
like there was a plan to get a certain act in place for patriots
Yeah,
about 20
exactly.
years ago.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and don't get me exactly.
The Watch Over the Patriots Act.
Yeah.
Snarf, snarf.
Yeah.
The thing that just blows my mind is, like, don't get me wrong. I'm all for execution of things. Sometimes you got to do bad to do good, and I can't overstate that enough. I think when it starts to interfere and bleed into the everyday civilian life is when it starts to become more of a problem. And don't get me wrong. For some reason, people, and maybe it's because we've had it way too good, people think that they are either untouchable or that bad things can't happen here or whatever. Last time I checked, warfare is unrestricted. You can put all the rules and regulations you want. It doesn't mean that your opponent's going to follow that. And I think our new way of looking at warfare, which it's hard to say we, because I think it's been more or less forced upon us by China, is that this is all out warfare on every sector, on everything that technology and life touches. You want to bring a war to an end real quick, or gain power real quick. What's the simplest target that you want to hit? Soft targets. What are the soft targets? It's your civilian population. If I want to mess up your economy, or I want to get your politics dissuaded from getting into my business, I'm going to mentally fuck with your people. So that being said, I think that I hate to say I think we're in a Cold War. You can call it Cold War three, as in preparation of World War III. I think,
Mhm.
Crash, you're right in the sense that the amount of actual kinetic traditional warfare that we will see will be less than what we have known for the last 20 to 30 years, simply based on the fact that the goalposts have changed.
Yeah.
It's no longer we have to be the most technically advanced group. Now we can start utilizing guerrilla tactics and espionage tactics to be able to go after giants. And in this case, if you look at BRICS, or if you look at, I'd say, Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, um, uh, if they were to try to go toe to toe with NATO right now, they would fail absolutely,
Yep.
or fail completely. This is minus the use of nukes. I think, to be quite honest, I think every faction or state entity knows that if we're getting to the point where we have to use nukes, that's almost certain annihilation of the entire human race at this point. So I want to draw that off the board. There's no point. What are you going to rule over when you have made everything a no-go zone? You know what I mean? Uh, so I truly believe that Russia, China, Iran, North Korea truly understand that if you want to take down the United States, you want to take down NATO, you need to attack them where it's going to hurt. It's going to be a death by 1,000 cuts. So let's hit them with gas prices. Let's hit them with messing around with trade. Let's I don't know, uh, derail trains and make places non-livable. We want to create as much headaches as humanly possible for that big old sleeping giant that fell asleep at the wheel and made it possible for all of these things to happen. For the love of God, we have secret police stations by China floating around all over the place. We have a open border allowing a whole bunch of people into the United States that probably shouldn't be here in the first place, but technically I understand why they would be doing that. Um, uh,
And
eh,
a whole lot of very, very deadly drugs.
oh, absolutely. I think, was it Trank is the new
Hmm.
fun drug there, which I guess is a
Yeah.
combination.
What is it? It's fentanyl and
The zombie drug, if you will. I can't even remember
yeah.
what's
Yeah,
mixed up.
I've only just heard it called a zombie drug. I don't know what
Yeah.
its actual name is.
And I mean, at that case, I do want to say that that the government does have a zombie protocol. They actually have a PDF for that.
It's
Which I
xylo.
want people to know. I want people to know that like all of the protocols are about protecting them.
Yes, not the
You
people.
must know that there's no room in the bunkers for you.
Mhm.
So even in the event of like nuclear war, there's no room in the bunkers for you. All right. So
Absolutely.
remember that they have little incentive to protect you because they have their escapes already mapped out.
Absolutely.
But also another thing I wanted to bring up, because you talked about all of these ways that China's messing with us. What about TikTok?
Yes. Oh my God. So we knew about that. We knew about that when, oh, even before 2016. There was an advisory of getting rid of TikTok. And I find it really funny that it's only until now they want to get it off of government systems. They want to get it out of the United States. I think, to be quite honest, they played the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They know that TikTok is enumerating files on host machines, ergo your cell phones or your I'm not too sure if it's installable for your systems, but I mean, if it's in your web browser, they're already tracking everything you do. But the mere fact that they knew this was messing around with people's heads psychologically, specifically with children. Okay, they knew this. We knew this was a threat years ago. Wow. I mean, look, we're in 2023. We're talking about 6+ years. Okay, we already knew this since its inception. When 10 Cent was in the game, okay, we knew this. This was a business that was ran by China. Okay, there is no
Right.
business that has that independence in China.
For those who, I was gonna say, for
Exactly.
those who don't know, Tencent is basically China's Google.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
and the biggest thing is I have a lot of friends that are in the area there, and I noticed that we weren't at the time on certain systems we weren't actually able to install WeChat, which was huge if you wanted to have communications with your friends and whatnot. I tried actually installing it. And I'm really glad that I didn't, just because that's another vector for God knows what they're going to do. Um, and WeChat was on the board too. WeChat was on the board for being chopped to close all communications in the United States. And I'm quite sure that they probably still are considering it. But I feel that it's going to get to this point where um, it's sort of like the dark powers that be. Remember back in the old school days when you needed to get rid of a problem, you did assassinations, you did coups, you did all these types of things to get rid of that person. We don't have to do that anymore. All we need to do is do character assassination. Okay, and it doesn't matter whether it's true or not, as long as you repeat the lie over and over again. Those who refuse or don't have the time to invest that energy to look into it are going to take it as gospel, unless I don't know, the hand of God reaches out and strikes them, or that information somehow involves them. And unless that involves, them
You hit
going
on the
to,
exact topic I was gonna come up with after that.
Yeah.
Was it's like when it hits them, that's when they wake up because they're the target now.
just with the East Palestine. Does anybody care? Does anybody really care what went down in East Palestine? Probably not. If it didn't
Not at
touch
a
them,
governmental level.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And on a person level, like you said, you'd have to be like a psychopath or a sociopath not to feel for those people. That this is. I have never seen such a, well. Hold on, maybe I have seen such a lousy response to the protection of the people of the United States. And furthermore, I also want to add, we used to have civil defense. Okay, when we were in the first Cold War, we had Titan sites and the was it Hercules sites there for missile defense. We had citizens involved. We had that see something, say something. We had a civilian defense force that would go around flying, checking our coasts for XYZ. We had a whole bunch of things going on. We actually knew, okay, we actually knew where our fallout shelters were. They used to be in colleges. They encouraged people to build bunkers in their backyards. They gave plans for them to be able to say, hey, listen, this is the X amount of food that you need, the X amount of water you need. This is how you would respond to that. Where the hell did all that go? Can anybody tell me, minus the fact of me putting input into FEMA for them to do this, can anybody, without looking it up, do you know where a fallback shelter for even natural disasters is in your hometown? There is none. There's
No.
none that normal people know. Now, if you download the FEMA app, there's a little compartment in there that will say that your nearest disaster recovery shelter is wherever. I looked at mine, it's 200 miles away.
Good Lord.
Jesus.
200 miles away. What the hell is that going to do for me in just a regular natural disaster? What is that going to do? Not a damn thing. So, as far as public in civil preparedness is concerned, they don't give two shits. At this point, I'm concerned that they should be concerned with that, and I think they realize that now. And now you start seeing these civil preparedness in the form of natural disaster going out over probably the ad council or something like that for like New York, right? What did New York do? They did civil preparedness. They just started the commercials up basically
For the
for
nuclear fallout and stuff like
yep,
that, radiation.
and then the second one was for regular preparedness for like just natural disasters like a snowstorm or power outages and all that type of stuff. I just find that sort of strikes me as funny that it's like, oh, are you now caring, or is this just a ploy to, you know, distract people while you guys don't really give two shits, you know?
I mean, it's definitely, as far as the type of warfare that's going on, it's fifth generational. It's all informational and disinformational, and it's about psychological persuasion.
NKO
And
for 2.0.
yeah, and no, the government and the elites, they don't give a fuck about regular people at all. If you're not contributing to them or their survival or ways for them to enrich themselves,
And I think
you're
that's sort of funny.
yeah, because so think about this. Like, what's going to happen if something does pop off and they go hide in their bunkers and the rest of civilization gets wiped out? When they come out of those bunkers, they're not going to have their serfs to run their
Bingo.
freight, grow their
Yep.
food, harvest their
Absolutely.
food, make their food. Like,
Yep.
they're not even going to have people to make toilet paper to wipe their ass with.
Bingo.
And
Now, as just
You can take that as a white pill that they'll suffer.
yeah.
In the
Yeah.
event of nuclear war, at least the elites will suffer in the end.
Yeah, well, and that's the funny thing, man, is that's part of my charge in active duty. We had protocols that specifically, that is very specifically what we did is again, for certain reasons, I'm security reasons, I'm going to admit a lot of things here, but the most critical thing to the United States is continuity of government. And one of the things that was absolutely drilled into us is ensuring that we get these assets to these specific locations, even if it means we have to sacrifice ourselves. Which, you know, I think that's just what it is when you sign up. That's you know, you given. But I think it's sort of funny. Again, just exactly like Cam said, like you have years, okay, years of survivability in X locations, right? But when you come out of those locations, whether or not it's deemed to be safe to do so or not,
Well, if
you
the
have
EPA is in
nothing.
charge, no.
Yeah, if if the EPA is in charge, it's absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. Hardly an inconvenience. You know,
Everything's glowing and on fire. It's fine.
yeah, absolutely.
It was
So
a
it's
mostly
like,
peaceful train derailment.
oh, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. And I think it's really funny that you know, and trust me, from the other side of this, I get it. There are certain things you don't want the population at large to know, because it may or may not screw up the efforts that you are doing in order to actually, you know, protect the United States. I get that. You don't have to say anymore, I'm on board. Okay. There are no rules. Once again, in the warfare game, I don't feel like speaking Mandarin. Okay. I don't feel like learning Russian. I very much like the English language. I like the way I live. Therefore, I will defend the United States against enemies, foreign, domestic. Except the problem is we keep going after the foreign and never against the domestic. So I was just curious, like when do we actually do the domestic part? If anybody could send me that memo, hey,
Well,
I'm all on board. You know.
when are we actually going to go after the real domestic problem, not the
Right, because
fake?
they have put people in solitary confinement
Yeah,
for
Yeah.
parents complaining to school boards about pornography in classes and
Yep.
they're domestic
Yep.
terrorists, not the people who are firebombing police training stations or pro-life clinics or well, you know what? I'm going to stop saying pro-life and it's anti-abortion and pro-abortion. That's really what
Yep.
it is.
Absolutely.
Um, God, that's another thing. Like most people don't know. It's like speaking of the abortion stuff, there are more black children aborted in New York City, and this has been true for like almost a decade now. There are more black children aborted in New York City than are born every year.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, let that
That.
sink in.
Yep.
That's
And the thing that's funny about this, okay, is going into another global view here that's very much related with abortion. Um, One of the reasons I believe the southern border is open is because, and Elon Musk hit it right on the head. We actually are in a decline of people. For the things that we as a civilization need to achieve in order to progress to the next level, we are sorely undermanned. And in the event of a World War III, we are sorely undermanned. If we hop over to China's population, that one child rule and let's kill the baby girls because why not, is really biting them in the ass right now.
Yep.
All of their people are reaching retirement age, and it's basically they're trying to support their economy, which is going into shit. Their infrastructures are their national critical infrastructure, as far as their their power plants, yeah, their water um,
treatment.
facilities. I'd say, yeah. Um, Anything related to just regular survival is absolutely going to shitter. You have uh, they're trying to facilitate their economy by utilizing false real estate. How many houses does one family actually need? How many cities are they going to try to replicate? Like a little Germany town and all these other things that they're no one's living in these buildings. They're just facades for investment, so that way they can have some type of equity. Um, Russia. Well, we already know what Russia has been for like the last 20 to 30 years. And if I were Putin, would I be pissed off about that? Sure, absolutely. Just as much as I can argue that back in the early 2010s and through 2015, would I want maybe Patriot missile batteries and whatnot sitting on the border of my country? Maybe not so much. So I can understand that. That doesn't grant him the green light to do half of the things he has. But then again, we all know that Ukraine has been a proxy war. Going back, going back to our border, I believe that we're basically leaving this open so that way we can have a cheap labor again. We can basically use everybody as a scapegoat. Any type of crime that's coming in, we can again use it as a scapegoat to be able to enact more tyrannical powers against the already civilian population that exists, which how they think that's going to create some type of order. And the best part is, remember, if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. Everybody coming into the United States is not going through the immigration process where what was it? Oh, didn't you have to know the history of the United States to come in? Oh, so you got these people that are coming into the United States that, for the most part, depending upon their education and where they're coming from, they may not know how the government works. So You're getting people that come into the United States that don't know the government, they don't know the history of the United States, and they don't know their rights, even though they're illegal aliens. That's right, I said it, illegal aliens. Um, they don't know any of this information. So how easy is it going to be for politicians to be able to manipulate this crowd to voting away their rights? Well, shoot.
Well, they got him to travel how many thousands of miles? I mean, granted, they pay for it, but yeah, it's. I mean, that's the other element of it. It's like it's not just that the border's open. Our federal government is literally funding this.
Yes.
They are literally giving people money to travel. They are not walking 3,000 miles. No, they're taking buses.
Bingo.
Yeah, I mean, look at the caravan. Was it 2 years ago that summer? All of them had the Biden shirt on.
Yeah.
Where did they get those?
Yeah.
Right.
Just curious.
And
what was it? They have to wear the. They didn't have to wear masks. They didn't have to have a shot.
Didn't have to get
that
tested.
magical shot. Yeah, they didn't have to go. Wow, shit. Can I be one of them? I'm just damn.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I want.
Like going back to what you're saying, I don't think it's the fact that we're undermanned in the country. I think it's a lot of it has to do with we're just unwilling as a society anymore. We're unwilling to take on inconveniences to maintain what little bit of freedoms and liberties we still have, and that's why we're losing them very quickly.
I think I think we've come complacent. We've come very incomplacent, and as you said earlier, that you feel like you have that bad feeling, and I absolutely have it there too. Exactly. Yep, you said it, Front Porch Man. I'll read it out here. Much like the turn of the 20th century when the Irish immigrated here and the Dems were waiting on the shore for them. You nailed the freaking right over target. Let's put it that way. I feel that if anyone here was around when 9/11 happened, it was the single event around the United States that shocked everybody into coming together. And I think what I was going to say is that maybe another traumatic event like that has to happen, but I think that we're so desensitized to these things happening that I don't even know if that would even have an emotional effect anymore.
Well, I've talked about that a couple of times, where 9/11, it hit everyone, but it wasn't quite personal enough. It hit them enough to let the government get away with some bullshit.
Yep, absolutely.
Like, I don't think a change is going to come to where collectively as the United States citizenry, we make the changes and demand the changes that need to be made until something fucking tragic happens that affects everyone on a very personal level.
Absolutely.
Because 9/11 was horrible, but not everyone had the same investment. 99% of the population had no investment in it as far as their personal lives.
Yep.
It affected the people, the families that were involved, the first responders and stuff, and collectively as a country, we're like, holy shit, we need to fight back against that.
Yep, absolutely.
But it didn't, until people can't feed their kids or they can't afford the medicine to keep a family member alive or themselves alive, or they're confined to their home like they're in a prison, then it's just not going to happen. We've become a nation of convenience, and those conveniences are killing us as far as our
absolutely
freedoms and liberties and our pursuit of happiness.
I can't remember who made the analogy there of Wall-E, where basically it's sort of like and I hate to speak for the Russian populations. I have very good friends in Russia that completely detest what is going on here, but I will describe as it was explained to me that the lulling of a population, in other words, not allowing them to excel too much, and utilizing diversions and distractions seems to be one of the most vital ways to be able to control a population at large. So, for example, having the entertainment sector come up with a whole bunch of movies and keep people distracted, keep having these conflicts, Britney Spears cut her hair again type of stuff, the tabloids, and then furthermore going into the View. I wouldn't if someone is not on the payroll, someone with red hair is not on the payroll for an institution or alphabet, I don't know who is, because to decisively go out and say some of the things that these people say, and how they got to their point, either they are beyond gone with just being a human being, which I don't know how they would survive just psychologically. They literally would have to be a psychopath or a sociopath to be able to do this, which many of them probably are. But I digress here. But
they're on the take.
Yeah, exactly. They have to that money,
Yeah, there's no way these people in like the late night shows, the talk shows and all that, there's no way they don't actually see what's going on. It's just they don't care because again, it doesn't affect them.
Absolutely. And I think if we and I want this to be very clear that the it only took a very small portion of the colonies to declare independence from England when we decided to go about doing this. So I want people to just have this in the back of their brain that one person can actually make a difference, because it only took such a small portion for the independence of this country to even be an idea in the first place. I think the biggest thing that people seem to forget is we, the people, have a boatload of power. And let me prove my point. What happens if all law enforcement in every county and every state decided to not show up for work tomorrow? Well, what would happen? What would happen? How long would it take?
Threatening me with a good time, good night?
Maybe.
I mean, it really depends on the area at that point.
It does. It absolutely does. I'm just curious.
I would give two examples there because I get asked about this a lot as an anarchist. In my libertarian meetings when conservatives come in and want to understand my philosophy. We've had a couple of different examples of anarchism. If you there's the Free State Project up in New Hampshire.
Yep.
They are autonomous. They manage themselves, right? But on the flip side of that, you've got CHOP, these autonomous zones by Antifa, which is what most people anticipate anarchism would bring about if the government just disappeared tomorrow, or if law enforcement just didn't show up to enforce the government, right?
They're doing that now. My bad. Carry on. Sorry.
But yeah, definitely in some areas, especially like the West Coast cities, which are already looking pretty terrible right now. LA, San Francisco,
Austin apparently is turning into a complete shithole.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's San Francisco Junior apparently.
Yeah, because we're all of the that's where they all fled to. all the San Francisco refugees went to Austin, and they took the politics with them.
Hey, stay weird. But I stay into it. That's awesome. But as you Crash, as you were saying.
Oh yeah. So it's a matter of the culture in the area with the community. right? Is the a culture of respecting each other's rights and cooperation and volunteering to do work as opposed to, or is it a culture of power is the only important thing?
Yep.
You know, because power does abhor a vacuum, and it becomes a vacuum when the citizenry of a community allow it to be. That's what happens in Chaz and Chop. Is it ultimately becomes non-anarchism because what ends up happening is a bunch of thugs end up rolling over the place.
Yep. And
whoever has the guns.
Yep. And the thing that sort of bothers me is I'm coming from a Ellie side of the house, and as a quasi civilian, as I like to say, how is it that they have the 50 state carry from after 9/11 occurred, and yet they punish you in the event that something were to kick off? You're the one being punished for stopping that event. Or God forbid, let's say if I go to the gas station, right, and it was being robbed, and I did my diligent duty, having my credentials, my training, and whatnot. I stopped the threat. Now, I now run the risk of not only having a charges brought against me. I don't know why.
Sometimes you risk getting killed for that too.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's part of the, if you carry a sword, you should also expect to die by the sword. You know what I mean? So that I think that comes with the territory.
Well, I mean, but what I'm talking about is just by the LE that arrive.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, hands down.
They'll take you for the bad guy, and
absolutely.
then you down. That happens.
It does more. They take their own people out. It's crossfire. I can't tell you how many times. Wow. Oh my God. But I've noticed that in my part of the world, and we have great cops there. I cannot state that enough. And they see the situation, and they do the best that they can under the circumstances that they're at. But it's almost to the point to where you can no longer do the right thing without expecting bad things to happen to you, and especially on your skin color. Like, I might be able to get away with it, but if Cam were, you know what I mean?
What are you saying, that my skin, the color of my walls, might not work out for me?
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. Like, they've beaten down officers to the point to where they're cleanup crew now. I'm seeing chases that are being stopped that otherwise should continue onward, just because of the nature and threat of what the crime was. But they're doing it not because it poses a risk to the general public. No, this is purely political. These guys can't freaking do their job because of politics. Go back to freaking what's his face there, Saint Floyd.
Yeah.
I think this is sort of funny. When the military has a majority of all of their law enforcement go through a training to where they teach you how to pin people on the ground. The funny thing is what that officer did is what we all did. We were all trained to. And when we were doing it in training, I had a 200 something pound guy, put his knee on me, and holy shit, I'm still here. Wow. I'm still here,
Well, everyone still acts like that was some brutal homicide, and I hate to tell people, a junkie OD'd.
Yep.
That's what happened.
And now these officers are basically in jail for their life for what? Doing their job? Oh,
Well,
that's interesting.
you had the MO, the ME, the medical examiner say
Yep.
that first conclusion, drug overdose. Second conclusion, coronary attack.
Yep.
And the SpO2 on the guy, even though he was already dead, was still 98%, which means there was plenty of oxygen in his blood. He was not suffocating
Hmm.
at all.
Yeah.
Um, the video shows that his knee was not on his neck the whole time,
Yep.
and he was already complaining about being out of breath beforehand. Look, it sucks that he died, but he
Absolutely.
died because he made a very, very stupid decision, and he OD'd on the drugs that he swallowed.
Bingo.
And
Bingo.
when you've got the uh, what do you call it? The who's in charge of the level of restraint?
Oh,
Um,
your use of force?
yeah, they get the use of force specialist, and he's like, he could have easily he could have easily tased him or used a more severe form of force to maintain control of him.
Yep.
And then you get the ambulance driver, like, yeah, we've pulled up to several scenes where the uh, perpetrator's already dead and still under
Yep.
restraint. Like,
Absolutely. Because you never know. You really never know. And I think the interesting part too is not to go too deep into that case, but these officers did everything they possibly could to help this guy out. He was complaining of being claustrophobic in the back of the patrol car. The things that they didn't show
Right.
to the general public. Uh, uh, he complained that he was claustrophobic. They took him out of the back of the car. They could have just forced his ass in and shut the door and called it a day. No,
Yeah.
no. They considered his mental well-being and said, you know what? Maybe if we take this guy out of the car and sit him down on the sidewalk here, that maybe he'll calm down and then we can continue going on to this further. Maybe they could have considered and I don't know the timeline exactly. Maybe they already called an ambulance to do an EDP or emotionally disturbed person there evaluation on the guy. But again, these are malicious murderers with a badge, and I guess that the political powers that be must teach them a lesson. Ugh.
Either way, people who cannot breathe
Mhm.
cannot scream out, I can't breathe.
Can't breathe.
yeah,
That takes breath. It requires taking a breath to pull out those
Oh.
words at the volume,
Oh.
especially at the volume. It wasn't even like
Huh.
restricted. He yelled it out. I can't breathe. And yeah, he felt
Interesting.
like he couldn't breathe because that's what the drugs were doing to him, but it had
But-
nothing to do
So
with the knee.
you're saying like when a person's drowning, you cannot hear them drowning because they can't breathe, right?
Right.
Son of a gun. Oh, damned if I knew that. So,
well, the overall thing is, as far as law enforcement and how it is now, they're making criminals out of regular citizens and law-abiding citizens because the government and their whole Ponzi scheme of the judicial system, they can't make money off of people who don't give a fuck and don't pay them anything, and they can't make money off of that. So they have to make laws and all these quotas and all this bullshit about your tags and expired registrations and all this bullshit, because if not, they can't make any money. So they
Exactly.
need people who work, who are trying to provide. They need them to give them money, or there's no fucking use for them.
Yep.
And the cops, they complain about being dehumanized all the time. And part of it is, well, you're enforcing shit that turns regular people into criminals,
Right.
while you're letting the people who are in charge of the judicial system let actual criminals back out to just go do whatever the
Yep.
fuck they want again.
Absolutely.
The cops have the absolutely most power in
They do.
this country, period.
Yep.
Without the cops, none of this matters. None of it.
Yep.
Just like you were talking about earlier, good night. It's like, what happens if they don't show up to work tomorrow?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. And in some cases, it's absolutely glorious.
Yeah. And the thing is like, I often wonder, I'll say I got an email from an organization, a government organization, asking if there were any available persons to provide protective services on a law enforcement capacity for what we call high value assets. So we'll say senators' families, senators themselves, or whatnot, for different shifts and whatever. And it's funny because what happens if their, let's say, Secret Service or their protective services for the nosebleed section, as I call them, just didn't show up? How safe do you think they would be? You know, how do you think that would affect them psychologically? Again, we, the people, hold so much more power than we give ourselves credit for. And I get it, because the way that the system's designed is that if you don't do as you're told, you will lose. You might not get that paycheck, you will get fired. Well, what happens when everybody does that in solidarity?
Right. The
That's
government
the
is very good. Government at all levels is very good at going after single targets.
Let's see them go after a mass target.
They cannot go after a mass target. Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately, we all live as individuals, and we don't see that. And it's hard to like teach people that like, if it doesn't even take a majority of us, it just takes enough of us.
Right.
Enough of us to where it's just not worth it to even try to enforce.
And I mean,
go ahead. Sorry.
Well, that starts at the county level too, at your local level.
Yes,
a couple hundred people can completely change the politics in their county. You don't need thousands and thousands. You just need a couple hundred people who say, "Yeah, we're not doing this anymore."
Yeah, that's all it takes is it's peaceful non-compliance. Look at that. You don't need any pitchforks. There's not a massive mob for anything. No joke. That's the one thing that I'm a big fan for. We used to call this winning wars without a shot fired. This is the best outcome of anything that you could possibly do. By doing absolutely nothing, you actually do more. How about that? Doing nothing is doing more. That's the name of the game there. And if you had, and it doesn't even have to be like on the Ellie side, obviously using them for an example. If you had every trucker just stop what they're doing. Oh, look, it's that. The entire
truckers have the most power of any institution.
And I know a lot of people sit there and say, "Oh, well, they're going to get the National Guard." Have you seen the National Guard recently? Okay, let's go back. Yeah,
not only that, there's not enough people in there to replace the truckers.
Exactly. Now, I am sorry, brothers and sisters, that I am shitting on you, but holy fucking shit. When you can't fit into your freaking uniform, or you can't mount a sight correctly on your freaking rifle, and then you don't even have
or just pass a regular PT test. Like, the standards are not that high on their PT test.
No,
I've done it. Like, it's not.
Yeah. No, it's not bad at all. On top of the fact that when they go and they're deployed into DC to go protect the area and set up cordons and stuff, they didn't even have magazines in their guns. Which tells me a lot. So you're there to protect the people that don't even trust you with ammunition. The only other people that I know that I worked with, the same thing applied. It was when I was deployed in South Korea, where my liaison Korean troops were issued blanks. Blanks. Okay, blanks.
Oh my gosh.
And they're supposed to help me defend the base with a blank. So then why are you here? You obviously didn't come to the fight. You brought your rifle, but you're what, a bullet sponge? What are you going to serve me? What purpose do you serve if you didn't even bring ammunition to the fight? So tells me a lot. But I think Cam hit this. Actually, both of you guys hit this. Is that we've come way too incomplacent. We are very comfortable in what we do, and we don't want to give an inch. We don't want to sacrifice anymore, and that is allowing them to be able to take away our civil liberties, our rights, our constitutional rights, and violate this on such a level to where, I mean, what the hell, 15-minute cities?
Mhm.
You kidding me? The amount of surveillance online, and the worst part about the surveillance is it's one thing when you have a government institution doing it. Okay, at least then I can sympathize. I get if we're talking about solid mission, I can sympathize. But it's not just them. 90% of all the information is coming from private corporations. Google, Amazon, Apple? Huh. Wait a minute. So who has the actual power here then? Is it the government? Or is it the corporations that have the database of your GPS location, everything you look at on the internet, your banking information? They have
Well,
everything on you,
those
you know?
companies don't have these dozens and dozens of CIA operatives inside their company for nothing.
Of course. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I
Corporations.
yeah, I forget what they call that. What is it when corporations and the government are working hand in hand to suppress the people?
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
fucking fascism.
wow. Ain't that a kicker? Ain't that a kicker? And it just blows my mind when going back to I had a conversation with someone who just didn't understand the importance of the population being armed. And they're like, well, if you take away all the guns, then no one has guns to kill each other. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? You're right. They don't have guns to kill each other, except the people that have guns, right?
Right.
It just
Include your government.
exactly.
Yeah.
I was,
Because
and
how
I
did they
was,
take those guns? Well, how did they
yeah.
take those guns? Because they have bigger guns.
Exactly. And it blows my mind because I was sitting there waiting. I was playing their game. I was like, yeah, you're right. We should take away all guns. Can you tell me how that's going to be accomplished? Like I went through the mental steps
Mhm.
to say, okay, so let's say you take away guns from the civilian population. Does that include criminals? And does that include your local law enforcement? And they're like, oh well, the this is the best response I've gotten. Well, how can the criminals have guns if we took away all the guns? Are, you're fucking me, right?
How do the criminals have guns now?
Thank you. Thank you. I
Like,
was just
do they not know
curious.
that there are places that are actually like
Yeah.
it's completely banned? Like,
Yep.
but there's still guns all over the place. Like Chicago, you can't get
Yeah.
a gun in Chicago.
Wow. The
Well, I mean,
mere
you
fact.
can, but not you can't legally get a gun in
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah. The mere fact it's called Chirac. Okay. Enough freaking said. Okay.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. But that's the intellect that we're dealing with. That is the absolute, and the scary thing about that intellect is they're a voting age. Holy shit, And now and under normal circumstances, I wouldn't care. Why? Because that's what the electoral college is for. Except they want to change those rules too. Yeah, I have to give credit to Spectre at this point. They are very creative with trying to change the definitions of things like, frame and receiver. But it just I I'm at this point. I think those that are in the know, we have to stand up for our rights. Not just individually, collectively. We have to focus on the local side. Your towns, your cities. Get to know your sheriff, man. There's a great YouTube channel. I think it's called Two Way Cops, where it's another cop that believes in the Constitution, and they tell you what cops on the ground are thinking. What is their synopsis? What do they think of these laws? What do they think of all this bullshit that's going on? And when I think that's huge for the general population at large to actually see, hey, these people are actually people too, you know. But yeah, I think that the only way that any type of real change that would be noticeable, especially in the upcoming clusterfuck that we're going into, it's going to be on the local level, and any laws that they make, basically, what, like you said, they have zero power if the people don't follow it, and if the those that are responsible for enforcing those laws also realize that they are unconstitutional and do not enforce them.
Mm.
Simple as that, you know.
I gotta share this real quick.
Oh my god.
Zero indictments, zero guilty pleas, and well, no guilty pleas because he was never charged for any of the gun running that he did with Mexico and with the Fast and Furious.
Yep. How many agents we lost on that one? Yep.
How
And
many
continue to?
They forgot. They forgot the 11 new wars. That's the number they forgot. The 11 new conflicts and wars and regime change bullshits that we.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That was my active years. I was there for all of them. Holy shit! But damn it, doesn't he look great in a suit?
Hey, yeah.
Hey, and he made sentences.
That is a snappy, gay-looking man. That is a snappy-looking gay man. Him and Mike are.
Yeah, exactly. That just that blows my mind how half of the shit began to run through and go and just exist, and no one bats an eye. That's at this point, let me put it this way. Those agencies that are responsible for being the balance in our lovely system, and they're not doing their job, have completely invalidated themselves. How they are a running institution right now is beyond my ability to think at this point. And I'm calling them out. DOJ, FBI. I'm going to leave out the other three letter. I'm going to say,
ATF, got to get them in there.
Yeah, ATF, absolutely.
I think
ATF by ATF's very existence violates the Constitution.
Yep, absolutely. Cam, what were you saying?
I think all of the alphabet community and institutions need to be abolished, like FBI, DOJ, ATF. Get rid of all that shit and rebuild it. Let communities build their own.
We don't need to rebuild. We don't need to rebuild. No.
Well, let the community.
You just leave it be. It's just abolish and done. That's where it stops. Just abolish.
See, and don't get me wrong. Like I'm in that same thought group, but I also know that for those that make an impact, for those that are actually at the tip of the spear, if we got rid of them, we would be leaving the United States and allies at the mercy of our adversaries. So it makes it very difficult, especially seeing it in person. It makes it very difficult to say, okay, let's just in sheer incompetence, let's freaking get rid of all this crap, because I want a fresh start. I want the ability to be able to get things right. And at the same time, I know that if we were to, let's just say, even like right now, real world, if we were to stop everything, abolish all these alphabets, that I think the world footprint that as we know it right now, and maybe it's futile, maybe the whole thing's futile, it probably for the most part it could really be the case, but I think that if we were to stop all the things that we were doing, the world would look drastically differently. Actually, that's a great brain exercise, to be quite honest, or just a thought exercise. If we got rid of the United States as a world power and its influence, which means the USD as being the number one currency for oil trade, right, and other domestic trade, what would the world look like?
It would just fall to whoever has the most power next.
Who do you think would that would be?
It'd be China or Russia.
Yep. I
Probably
think so.
China because they have more of a informational warfare front.
Yep. I was thinking China, and I don't want to count out Russia, but
Or
see, that's
maybe Europe, but that's only if they can get cohesive again, and I don't
yep.
think that's going to happen anytime soon.
I think like you would have the NATO nations basically go for themselves. I don't even think there would be a NATO. How much has
No.
the United States?
NATO doesn't exist without us.
Right. Yeah.
UN wouldn't exist without us. We basically fund that whole operation.
Yeah.
Yep.
WHO, all of these.
No,
world,
Bill
these
Gates
world
funds
organizations-
WHO.
Yeah, of course.
What?
Bill
Oh.
Gates funds Yeah.
True.
Who?
Well, everyone thinks he's the number 2 donor behind us, but they don't count all of his other shell corporations that give
Yep.
millions and millions and millions.
Absolutely. And that's the interesting thing is that
Yeah, all the more reason for us to just pull our funding from it. Bill Gates got it covered.
yeah, shit.
You know.
Yeah. You know
He don't
what?
need our money.
Yeah.
Let's face it, WHO is a Bill Gates joint.
It is.
Yes.
And I just think it's really funny for a guy who deals with software. And remember what I told you before, the ideology is electrical engineering, okay? For planning. I just think it's really funny that you have a guy that's in software somehow talking about freaking biomedical institutions that are way the hell far off from his expertise. And I'm not to say that's not to say a person couldn't, I'm a man that wears many hats, but me versus a bioengineer, a biomechanical engineer, who's going to have more experience and knowledge in that area? So now you've got this multi-billionaire talking about shit that he really doesn't know. He doesn't know. He might understand the concepts of it, but I don't see his dumbass in a freaking lab. Do you?
No.
Well, I mean, there's some of his expertise because I'm sure thievery
Of
goes
course.
into the biomedical field too. That's how he got his start and how he made
Yep.
his company. Sure as hell
yeah.
wasn't writing his own code.
No, God no. It's a poor fucking Wozniak and whatnot. Like these the you know what it is? It's the men behind the men. That's what it is. It's the real men behind the men that actually get this shit done. And then you got this lol cow that basically says, "It's me."
Well, he's dead now, so
Yep.
yeah.
It is. It's just like a real sad version of Rick and Morty. Oh, holy shit. It's going to be interesting. The 2023, 2024, our March to 2030. This is going to be a really interesting time. Will the people wake up and say, you know what, maybe we're done being fed the shit and piss that's coming down from the upper echelon? As we all know, shit rolls downhill. Will they do it? I hope. I'm not. I'll say. I'll say that from this time period now, till 2030, people need to do one of two things. They either need to prepare their own families to be able to deal with, and this isn't some conspiracy bullshit. This is real world. Assume that since we're all in the rage with electric cars and all this shit, we're going to have brownouts. We haven't updated our infrastructure in God knows how long. So don't expect the police to come and help you. Don't expect FEMA to come and help you if there's going to be a natural disaster. So you have until
Palestine is any indication.
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah.
Even show up. They're just like, nah.
Exactly. So
nah, you good.
Okay, what were you saying, brother?
Well, RFK made another good point on Jimmy Dore the other night. Like North Korea, they don't have the tactical nuke capability to just wipe us off the face of the
Correct.
earth.
Yep.
But all they need is a couple of somewhat close ICBMs to get over here and set off massive EMPs, and
Correct.
we're fucked for a long time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
And so it's like the best thing that people can do, and you don't have to, it's just little by little, poco a poco, right? Have some food set on the side. The canned foods, they can last up for freaking 2 years to more, depending upon what it is, or if you do your own canning. Have some water on the side. Lord knows you could be sitting in your living room and I don't know, a train accident happens, and now look, you have no drinking water anymore.
Mm.
You want to know what's a better pet than a cat or a dog?
What?
Chicken.
Eggs.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the millionaire special apparently.
When I finally get in
That's-
my own house, I'm planning to. I want to get some chickens.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm trying to get my dad and sister to do, because my grandparents' old house, my sister still got it, and nobody's living there. And I'm like, let's put a chicken coop and start doing the
Absolutely.
garden again.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna need. I feel like we're gonna need it.
Yeah, and it's sad to say that, but like both you guys said, we can no longer rely on the services and systems that we thought were in place to be able to protect our local towns and neighborhoods from just about anything. So you have until now 2023 onwards to 2030. Yep, there you go. Yeah, see, bingo right there. That's more than
This
enough.
is what is coming.
Yeah,
and people
really
don't
is.
understand like what. I was just thinking about this because I had a long conversation about hyperinflation with some friends the other day, and
Look at that.
I want you to look at the equivalent daily inflation rate.
Ugh.
Daily.
Ugh.
Daily. Or how about this? Time required for prices to double. Let's look at Zimbabwe's. I don't know much about the Hungary one, but obviously that one was the worst.
That's
but
an
Zimbabwe
interesting choice of words, even though I know it's the country.
Right.
Carry on.
But yeah, Zimbabwe is one that gets brought up a lot. Daily doubling.
Unreal.
And
wow.
well, yeah, like if you have a calculator, just put in $1 and then multiply by 2, then hit equals. That's 1 day. Hit equals again. That's 2 days. Do that like 30 times. Yep. And then tell me what number you get.
Yeah.
Well, we saw what happened to Sri Lanka. Enough said.
Right. But even down here at the bottom here, Kazakhstan, 1.48% per day, or about 50 days to double. So that means that this prices would double 7 times in a year, a little over 7 times.
Unreal.
Mm.
So your $3 eggs are now 6, 12, 24, 48, 96.
Yep.
Christ. You're looking at $200 eggs in a year.
Yep. Absolutely.
That can happen here. The whole talk about the US dollar as the world reserve currency. I used to struggle with this because when I learned about how central banking worked, I'm like, oh, hyperinflation's on its way. And like we have severe inflation, but we've never achieved like hyperinflation.
Correct. Yep.
And I've always wondered, like, how did they avoid that? And when I learned about the reserve currency, I finally figured it out. Well, I mean, somebody explained it to me, and it clicked. Like,
yep,
we export our inflation.
Yes.
When 100%. Because this is why we are the world's police, because we are enforcing that they have to use our dollars, and that is what alleviates. One of the mechanisms that alleviates our domestic inflation. The other thing that alleviates domestic inflation is taxes. Have you ever asked yourself, if they can just print money, why do they have to tax us?
Exactly.
It's because they have to take some of it back to counter all of the money printing.
Absolutely. That's what's going on with the Fed right now. That's why they're raising their interest rates, and it really hits home when if you understand the mission of BRICS, and with them having potentially 60% of world resources, that if they were to go back to the gold standard and they became the world reserve currency, the amount of hyperinflation that would hit the United States and anybody for that matter that utilizes the dollar, which is the rest of the world, is going to be in a lot of pain. And honestly, I think that's shoot that's if you want to take out these big power guys, the one way to do it is financially, so
Yeah, no, and that's that's at the core of everything.
Yep.
Like if we have no medium of exchange, we have to go back to bartering.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's different scenarios for what could happen here under hyperinflation. As long as you have like electricity and power, like you still have technology available to you, then I still think crypto is a very viable alternative.
Definitely.
But short of that, like if God forbid, but with as much as happened over the past few years, it wouldn't surprise me if we did get some sort of EMP event or just a severe solar flare that took out our grid.
Yeah.
Then you're looking at either bartering or perhaps precious metals, silver and gold, like physical coin.
All I want to do is go back to the Wild Wild West days so I can just wear a cowboy hat and get away with it. Okay, that's all. That's all I ask for. I'm gonna pull the Wild Wild West thing with Will Smith, except not be a bitch and slap a comedian on stage, and just just saying.
Chris Rock wrecked his ass.
Yep, and it was beautiful.
It was.
Oh, and just to hop on the train, Will Smith, you are a bitch.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Gentlemen, we're at a little over 2 hours, so
excellent.
It has been fun.
Absolutely.
It has been fun. It's turned into pretty good considering we didn't have anything planned.
Yeah. You know what? Like most things, I think the best plan is no plan at all at this point, considering that your battle plan is the first thing to fail once you go into battle. So I think that works out perfectly. It has been an honor and a pleasure joining you guys.
Thank you.
Talking
Thank
about
you for coming on. Good night. So it's great to have you.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully in the future, I'll have something set up and have you guys on as well. But for now, I am slowly getting things set up so that way we can have a little bit more evidential type of information podcast.
What do you have here? Flagrant, what are you doing?
Well, before we go, I'm gonna let everyone check out a little commercial from our favorite Legion of Memers.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait.
Oh, check your sound. There you go.
Yeah, might want to put some audio on.
Ooh. Ooh. Fancy. Oh yes. See, that's beautiful right there.
Oh yeah.
The sexiness. Brush your shoulders off, ladies and gentlemen, or however you identify at this point, because I'm not a biologist. Okay. There's the sexiness right there.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
Credit to No Green Rocks there.
Nice. Go follow No Green Rocks, everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Follow No Green Rocks. Legion of Memers.
Oh yes. I think another meme war is upon us.
Yeah,
glorious.
Next week may be lit.
Oh yes. Oh, it's what was it? Super Tuesday. Except it has a completely different meaning. This is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. So that's one thing if I could get out of this area, I want to be on the ground for that one. That's going to be some historic events of what bullshit is going to happen next, and who's going to be involved with this. This is going to be good. Yeah. They screwed themselves so bad that we're going to talk about this on the next episode.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. If it happens, I mean, that is going to be the news cycle.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
And you know what? That could actually spark some serious shit, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're gonna.
What do you mean? You mean I don't plan and say things ahead of time without telling things ahead of time for there ain't a way of being able to slip on to say for people to be prepared without saying people be prepared without causing a panic. Carry on.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody. I mean, that's why I'm trying to teach kids how to garden, grow food.
Yeah.
Like we started
Mhm.
last year with a little green bean plant. And this year we're going to do one of the hydroponic towers, or we're just going to do pots with still water. So
Epic. Absolutely
yeah,
epic. People
yeah.
learn ABCs. Always be
Everybody
ready.
go
Everybody here.
learn how to grow something, learn how to hunt, do something. Learn a survival skill when it comes to sustenance. It is. I feel like it's going to be very important soon. So
Yep, absolutely.
that's
Well,
just my
again,
opinion.
it's been an honor, pleasure. Thank you for having me here, and
Yeah.
I'll definitely see you guys in the future here.
Good night. Where can they find you, man?
I'm a ghost for now. And soon, maybe I don't want you to find me. No, hopefully soon I'll set up something. Per usual, I don't enjoy the lovely censorship that these platforms are doing, and I do have a couple of things in the works to counter that. I'll say that it may include having, I don't know, strategically placed lawyers in the CONUS area to go to bat for content creators of all platforms. I'm just laying it out there, you know. So there are things definitely in the works, but I don't have anything yet. So stay tuned there. I'll pop up wherever I pop up, and we'll go from there.
We'll be watching out. Crash, where can they find you, man?
All right, Crash Mondo JR. Follow me wherever you find me, because just don't expect much. I'm not that active on a lot of social media. Semi-active on Twitter though.
We may be starting some gaming streams for too long too. We're playing a couple things and trying to figure out what.
Oh
what
yeah,
would be
also on
good
Twitch, Crash Mondo
entertainment
JR.
value.
Epic.
I've been promising a comeback stream, and it will happen. I mean, it technically happened with Flagrant last night with the Teamfight Tactics, but it
Don't
just
call
wasn't
it-
on my channel.
Don't call it a comeback. You're already here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm already here. I just don't have my channel active yet because my OBS isn't set up. There's a bit of work I got to put into that.
Nice.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Guys, flagranttriggers.com. Get your Marvel shirts.
Get
we
your
still got
merch.
Ohio stuff too. Yeah, get your merch. We got Chrissy and X-Ray Girl stuff and Lila Hart. And we may have some other stuff coming. Just maybe, working on some things. So it should be
Nice.
pretty good. And Flagrant Trigger on Twitter and Flagrant Triggers everywhere else. So everybody have a good night. And leave a comment, smash the like.
Hit
Catch
that
y'all
like
later.
button.